Welcome back to all of our listeners and our viewers for another episode of the podcast regarding preparing for the second coming of Jesus Christ. I'm John, and with me is my brother Christian. And we want to, again, use this time to remind one another that, yes, the Lord is coming back quickly, but even the more that we would prepare quickly for his soon return. Right? Because his desire is that we would qualify to become kings and priests, and especially to mature early as the firstfruits. And that requires us then to prepare. And I think it's good that we're continuing in the podcast, especially given the world situation. Two clear signs that is happening.
Yeah.
I think you probably are hearing this on your end of the in Europe and what's going on in America and also what's going on in the Middle East. But I think, with the escalation now to a full-on war there in Iran, I believe God has something in stored to fulfill Jeremiah 49 for the
Yeah.
final judgment on this group of people called Elam, or today's nation of Iran. And we're praying that this would come to a conclusion quickly so that it opens the door for peace in the Middle East to rebuild the temple. At the same time, we're seeing here the fallout after the president gave such a speech regarding election fraud. It is very clear that democracy is ending. I mean, when you're talking about the Democratic Party becoming a communist party, and with a lot of the what we call so-called conservatives that have moved over to the left side, my goodness, you're really seeing the end of democracy before our eyes. And these are the two crucial signs that we have to see, knowing that then the Lord is coming back very quickly. And so when you see this, it should be a sobering reminder. We need to get ready quickly.
Yeah. And there has been a really, I think, meaningful event yesterday too,
Mhm.
that the US and Saudi Arabia, they
Yes.
are working on a deal
Right.
concerning development of nuclear power,
Right.
right? And,
Yep.
for civil purposes, that's what they
Hmm.
emphasize.
Right.
But the interesting part is that Trump said to the Saudi Arabians, he said, you
Yeah.
can only have that deal if you enter the Abraham Accords.
Right.
And this is big because that really is going down the way that we already talked about for many, many times.
Exactly.
The covenant of many of Daniel 9:27.
Right.
What does it mean for us today?
Hmm.
It is pretty, very, very likely, or it's pretty much sure, it's
Yeah.
the Abraham Accords. Because there's
Right.
nothing anywhere else that fits to that verse, like this
Exactly.
deal that was done
Right.
in the first term of Trump.
Yep.
And to bring the main nation that is missing, because they are really the one that control the holy sites of the Islam,
Hmm.
right? Saudi Arabia.
Yes. Right.
To bring them into the Abraham Accords, that makes a big step towards building the temple, for sure. Because the temple
Exactly.
can only be built there in
Right.
Jerusalem, and there's this conflict of religion, right, at the
Yes.
site on the Temple Mount. And that
Right.
Trump does not just negotiate with Saudi Arabia saying, okay, you get nuclear power technology from the US and things like that.
Hmm.
Like he puts it very strongly in a condition that they have to enter the Abraham Accords. And it
Right.
really shows where this whole event is going. And that should wake us up. Some might
Right.
have forgotten about Abraham Accords. They're like, oh, we didn't hear about it in a while. No, it's big. It's bigger
Yeah.
than you might think. It is really much that covenant of Daniel 9:27. It's what else should it be, right? And then it really has to wake us up because that means we are somewhere there with the last 7 years, and we need to
Exactly.
get ready. That's the point. Yeah.
Right. Yes. That's actually a very good point that Trump is using the carrot of the Abraham Accords for Saudi Arabia. If they want nuclear power, then they have to join the Abraham Accords, right? Trump is really like the modern day Cyrus. He
He is.
knows how to get countries to do what he wants to do without using military force. And in this case, he's dangling a carrot there, right? If you want nuclear power, then join the Abraham Accords. And this is crucial, right? Because we are talking about, as you said, the beginning, or it's not the beginning, but it marks that the final 7 years, we're pretty much in it, I think, at this
Right.
point. And there's no doubt about it, because there's been a lot of cooperation going on amongst all of the Middle East countries. The other thing that came up was there's now an agreement now, right, between Lebanon and the United States and Israel, right? For the
Hmm.
first time, we're now allowing flights from the US to Lebanon, right? So there are many things that are coalescing together finally to see the manifestation of the Abraham Accords in full view of the whole world. And this definitely will open the door for the rebuilding of the temple. So I think,
Yeah.
yes, so for all of you who are following us, listening, this is really crucial. You're not going to find this in mainstream media. You actually have to really dig in to find out the real story of what's going on there, and also need to have some discernment. But with all of that, then it's even more important that we speak about the preparation for the Lord's coming, right? And I
Right.
think it's been very good, for those of you who are tuning in new. We've been going through this outline that was produced at the beginning of the year regarding the matter of the priesthood. And we are now in Ezekiel chapter 44. And the last 2 weeks, we've been speaking about the priestly garments that the sons of Zadok wore in order for them to enter into the sanctuary and to enter into the most holy place before the presence of God, with the purpose of hearing his speak and to know what God wants to do. And this priestly garment, which we've been speaking about for the past 2 weeks, has been very important for us because it's a matter of putting on Christ.
Yeah.
Christ is our righteousness. Christ is our garment. He's the new man. And also last week we talked about the turban, right? He is the one who even guards our head, our minds. What are we thinking about? Are we thinking about God's kingdom? And so with putting on Christ as this fine linen, this garment that is white, clean, bright, how does it really look like in our daily life? And I like the progression that's here in Ezekiel, right? Because when you go on to verse 20, it says, "And they shall neither shave their heads nor let their hair grow long, but they shall keep their hair well trimmed," right?
Hmm.
And the next two verses, right? "No priest shall drink wine when he enters the inner court." And then verse 22, it says, "They shall not take as wife a widow or a divorced woman, but take virgins of the descendants of the house of Israel or widows of priests." And when you consider these three verses, it really summarizes the kind of living a priest that is faithful to God's purpose, how they should be living, right? And so we'll use the next few episodes to get into how does it look like for a priest if we are to live such a priestly life. What should it look like? How should it be manifested in our daily life?
Yeah. I really like these verses because it
Mhm.
makes it so clear. To
Yeah,
be a priest of the Lord,
right.
especially in the new covenant times, where we are all
Yes,
called to be priests,
right.
it's not a matter of only Bible knowledge
Mm-hmm.
and having some good works that you do,
Right. Yeah,
charity.
right.
It's your whole living that matters to
Exactly.
God. Everything we do, how the
Yeah,
marriage looks like, how the household, the interactions with the children is
right.
like, how
Right.
your work life is like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
how you manage your personal being, your body, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of these things, even how you manage your finances,
Right.
all these aspects of our daily life, there has to be a manifestation of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, we cannot serve God as
Mm-hmm.
priests in an acceptable way. Of course, we
Exactly.
cannot change overnight. We all
Right.
have to start somewhere,
Hmm.
but there should be progression in the right direction. This
Right.
is what matters, right? We don't want to put out a standard and say, okay, if you cannot serve match that standard, you cannot serve as priest now.
Right.
But what this word here should show to us is it should reveal Christ to us,
Hmm.
in whose image God wants to transform us into.
Right.
This is the goal, that we will be transformed into his image.
Exactly.
And here he mentions the hairstyle, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
That's a strange verse. You think,
Right.
huh?
Yeah.
Does it really speak so much? It speaks a lot about how you where your head, what
Right.
kind of character you are, right?
Exactly.
And people use their hair to express themselves.
Right.
Definitely.
They
Some
do.
like to color it pink, and some men like to wear it long, and all these
Hmm.
things, right? It
Hmm.
expresses something of your character,
Right.
what you want to be.
Yeah.
And that's why God puts here a very simple word. He says they shall neither shave their heads. It's
Right.
one extreme. I mean,
Yeah.
unless you're bald-headed, okay? But the two of us were not.
Right.
Imagine you would shave your head. That would be
Yeah. Yeah.
very extreme. It's like those monks in Thailand, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
The
Hmm.
Buddhist monks. And then he said,
Yeah.
no, let their hair grow long, like the hippies, right?
Yeah.
And then those rock people,
Yeah.
they shall keep their hair well trimmed. No,
Right.
that's in the middle. That's balance, right? To be
Yes.
bald-headed, to shave your head, that's one extreme.
Right.
Grow your hair long as a man, it's
Yeah.
another extreme. You go wild, yeah, you
Right.
go out of control, right? Anything
Yeah. Yeah.
goes.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
shave your head is my way or highway, right?
Right. Right.
But
Yeah.
God, the Christ was neither nor one nor the other. He's balanced. He's in the middle.
Mhm. Yeah.
Should keep their hair well trimmed. And
Exactly.
this is something we don't have in ourselves. We're
Right.
either one or the other way. Some are very strong-willed,
Hmm.
yeah, the shaved head.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only one opinion, no one else counts. And
Right.
some, the hair grow long, so to say,
Yeah.
anything goes.
Yeah.
But
Right.
no, we should have a will, we should have a strengthened will,
Yeah.
but still flexible to follow the
Right.
Lord, listen to others.
Right.
And it's something we don't have in ourselves, right? You're either one
Yeah.
or the other way.
Right.
But we need Christ, that we can be such servants. And it is necessary, because such a character is manifested in everything you do. Right?
Exactly. For
Yeah.
sure. No, it when you speak about being balanced, another word that we often use is this word temperate, right? Because
Hmm.
Paul uses this word temperate. If
Hmm.
you go into First Timothy chapter 3, Paul is speaking to a young apostle Timothy in how if you go to chapter 3 verse 1, it says, if a man desires the position of a bishop, or actually it should be an elder or an overseer, he desires good work. And an elder or an overseer then must be blameless, the husband of one wife. And then the third description here is temperate.
Yeah.
What does temperate mean? The dictionary definition of temperate is moderate or self restrained, not extreme in opinion, statements, etc. Right? And when you see this word temperate, it's actually used in both First Timothy and in Titus, when Paul is describing to both Timothy and to Titus what type of a humanity we should have. It should be temperate, not extreme, like as you described with their being bald or long hair, right? What type of actions are we expressing, right? And I
Mhm.
also agree with the point that you're talking about. It's not that we try to be one way or the other, right? Because dispositionally, some are extreme, some are go for whatever. But it really comes down to learning to live Christ, right? The last two episodes we're talking about putting on Christ. Well, if we put on Christ, or another word is to walk by the Spirit, then there should be an expression of Christ. And that's why eventually in First Timothy chapter 3, at the end, it speaks about the expression of godliness. Verse 16 of
Right.
chapter 3, it says, "And without controversy, great is the mystery of godliness. God was manifested in the flesh, justified in the spirit, seen by angels, preached among the Gentiles, believed on in the world, and received up in glory." So godliness is God manifested in the flesh. Meaning, for us, how does it look when we walk by the Spirit? We live Christ. Is Christ being expressed through us? So it's not about me trying to hold this standard of, okay, I got to be
Right.
balanced, I got to be temperate, because in myself, at some moments I'm very extreme. In other moments, I was like, okay, whatever. No, I have to learn to live Christ. And
Right.
that it is through Christ, then we can become temperate, moderate, balanced. And if we're to be qualified to become kings in the coming millennial kingdom age,
Hmm.
fine, then this is definitely a core quality if we are to become kings, right? Because you look at today's quote, so called kings, they're far from being moderate. And so this is an important characteristic. This is a part of Christ. It's his very humanity and how we should learn to live Christ in such a way. And but in the description here in First Timothy chapter 3, it begins in the home with the
Hmm.
marriage life and the family life. What does it mean to be temperate? And when you read through these verses in chapter 3, you realize, wow, this is what it means to be a temperate person in the
Yeah.
house of God.
Yeah. It's really such a practical word here. First
Right.
Timothy 3.
Yeah.
There's nothing hard to understand about it, right?
Right. Right.
Bishop then, an elder must be
Mm,
blameless.
yeah.
Means what does blameless mean? Blameless doesn't mean perfect in a sense. There's nothing you do wrong all day long and all week long, but it
Mhm.
means you cannot be blamed for violating anything of what is written afterwards, right?
Right.
That this is not something you be blamed for.
Yeah.
Husband of one wife, right? Marriage life, very
Right.
crucial. It's the first point.
Yeah.
It's the closest relationship, human relationship you have,
Mhm.
and that exposes and manifests most of your character than any other relationship you have. You can hide at work, right? At
Yep.
work, you can appear to be a nice guy and be
Mhm.
very understanding, all of this.
Yeah.
But once you come home,
Right. Yeah. Very
there's
different.
nothing to hide. There is nothing to hide. You are who you are.
Right.
And God doesn't want us to put up a show,
Exactly.
but He wants to change us from the
Right.
inside to the
Mhm.
outside.
Right.
And this is what we should look into.
Mhm.
Wherever we see a deviation in our life, through the
Mhm.
Lord's light to
Right.
this word here, we should really
Yeah.
come to Christ.
Exactly.
It is not about self analysis and writing a character book. No, we don't want to do
Right.
anything like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
This is not what's glorifying God.
Right.
But we should really turn to the Lord and say, Lord, work in my person,
Yeah.
work in my home, right?
Right.
To fulfill all these um, words that you wrote down. And this is expressing Christ.
Yeah.
And that's in Ezekiel. What I like
Mhm.
about Ezekiel, it's all related to the priesthood.
Mhm.
The
Yes.
more we really gain Christ in our practical living, in dealing with each other at home, husband and
Mhm.
wife, you really gain
Mhm.
Christ there.
Yeah.
And then in dealing with your children and with yourself,
Mhm.
then the more the priestly service is really useful to God.
Right.
Right? If this is, there has to be a match
Yeah.
because the words we say, they are all standing or falling with the way we live. Right?
Yes. Yes.
The, the power in the words someone speaks depends fully on the way he lives. And
Exactly.
that's why God really cares about
Right.
how his priests are
Mhm.
living. He really
Right.
cares about it.
Yeah.
And to keep the hair well trimmed means you regularly get a haircut, yeah?
Yes.
And
Right.
and we all need to be really corrected. again and again. We we cannot just let things go or be so extreme, but we have to be always corrected by the Lord again and again.
Right. Yeah.
And because we are priests, we should be holy, right? And
Mhm.
then he says, "No priest shall drink wine when he enters the inner court."
Right.
Another point, but all this matter of um, keeping the hair dressed well, right? When you go into Timothy,
Yeah.
you mentioned before First Timothy 5:8,
Yes.
and that talks about finances.
Right.
And it says, "But if anyone does not provide for his own," meaning
Mhm.
to care for them and also to pay all the bills,
Yes. Yes.
because you need it, right? And
Right.
especially for those of his household, he has denied the faith
Yeah.
and is worse than an unbeliever.
Mhm.
Uh, it will be it's not good if a believer uses his money just for his own interest and for
Right.
his own pleasure. That's not an
Right.
expression of Christ.
Exactly.
But it should be used to provide for others, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
his own first.
Right. Right.
And it's not good if I don't want to go to work or I don't want to take care of those practical things. Just
Right.
do whatever I like. Then that's not living Christ.
Right.
The Lord was not like that.
Yeah.
He was caring for his 12 disciples for 3.5 years.
Mhm.
Everything he was taking care of. And
Right.
and that's for us, it's a great field to get to know more of Christ and to grow.
Yes. Right.
And such a change, I'd say it's a lot easier maybe just to enjoy a word and share about it, but to really
Mhm.
change in these practical matters,
Right.
that requires a different portion of Christ. There you really need
Exactly.
there you see then the transformation, and that is a
Right.
challenge for us to really come to him. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's interesting that you bring up this point regarding the finances. First Timothy 5:8. You know, for us here, oftentimes I do spend time with the young people while they're growing up as they transition from high school to college and into the work professional environment. They have a heart for the Lord. It's good, but then how they take care of their finances, it's it's like either bald headed or long hair. It's an extreme. You're either super, super miserly and you don't want to spend anything, or you just think everything is fine and I can spend whatever I want, right? I guess it depends on how much allowances you get from your parents. But the point is, if we don't know how to manage our finances with the Lord, then it is exactly like what Paul warns Timothy, right? If you don't know how to provide for your own, and especially those of his household, he is denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever, right? And one of the things that I used to do or I still do actually sometimes, is have a spreadsheet called "How much do you cost to live on this earth?" And because, as a young person, you have no clue, really. I mean, for those that are tuning in, if you're a teenager, do you really know how much you cost to live on this earth? And they go and fill out the spreadsheet. And afterwards, I ask them, "So, what's your impression?" And almost everyone without exception are like, "Whoa, I did not realize I cost this much to live on this earth." And what it did was it really exposed to them how much money is needed and what their parents are providing for them, and that they shouldn't take the money for granted. But even more important, because it opens the door for opportunity, saying, now you have a chance to experience Christ in
Yeah.
how you should take care of the financial resources he's given to you, right? Some who are so miserly, they don't want to spend anything for anything with regards the Lord, right? And then when they see what they are really, how much they cost and how much they make, they realize, oh, I can do things to spend money for the Lord, and then vice versa on the other side. Whoa, I spent too much money on this or that entertainment, and I don't have anything left for, you know. So it's a very exposing way of seeing how you manage your finances. But in the end, the goal is, as you say, gaining Christ. Even in this
Right.
matter, we have to learn how to gain Christ. And it begins in the family life. It begins at home. Right? You might be single, but you still all of these things that was outlined for the elder, it applies to you as a single person. You might
Now
be
you have
living
to
with the
look to the camera because I'm not single.
I know. I'm looking to the camera, but some of you might be single, right? But you might be living together with other brothers or other sisters in the home.
Right.
And then all of these things kick in. All of these things become very practical. But even when you're living by yourself, you still need to be temperate, sober minded, right? Hospitable, right? All of these things become very practical. But this matter of being temperate is really crucial because this is what was pointed out in Ezekiel 44.
Right.
One of the core qualities of a priest living, it must be temperate.
Right.
And and the only way to do that is with the Lord, right?
Amen.
If we don't experience the Lord in this way, then we will become very extreme, one way or the other. And this is a practical manifestation of what it means to put on Christ, to
Yeah.
put on Christ as our turban, because it is only through Christ that we can be transformed and perfected to live such a life, a
Right.
temperate life, to be qualified to be kings and priests.
Yeah. And I really especially want to encourage the young people,
Yeah.
start now to be
Right.
transformed.
Yes.
Don't wait till you're older. It's
Mhm.
harder to change when you get older.
Yes.
And we should really start now to let the Lord and work together with the Lord for transformation in our lives
Right.
and say, Lord, how I manage my time.
Yeah.
I want to be temperate. I don't want to be extreme. I want to learn to control my time, to do my homework,
Yes.
and also to have time for the Lord.
Right.
To have time with friends, time
Yeah.
for your sports, whatever, but then
Yeah.
also take time for the meeting, right?
Right.
To be temperate in this, not to be so extreme. One week you're in all the meetings, next week you're no more to be seen, right?
Right.
I don't
Right.
know, busy with something else, but
Mhm.
to be temperate, to be constant.
Mhm.
And where does this change come from? It has to come from the Lord. He has to work in us.
Right.
And we should really start when we are young because there are so many ways in our life, so
Yes.
many parts that God needs to transform.
Right.
And the older we get, the more challenges we will have, right? We will have a family, we'll have children, we have so many
Mhm.
things in the church also. I hope we also grow bearing
Mhm.
responsibility in the church. We should also
Mhm.
grow in that field. In our service to God, we should not stay the ones who listen to the
Right.
rest of our church life. I think that's what Paul said in Hebrews 6. By the time you ought to be teachers, right?
Yes.
Now you're young, you're receiving the word. That's
Mhm.
good. But if the word works in you and has an effect on you and you be transformed, you should not stay at that place for the rest of your life. You
Yeah.
should grow and help others to know the Lord as well.
Right.
And so we really should learn when we are young, wherever we are right now, to challenge the Lord. Lord, I want to be transformed. I
Mhm.
want that your word is fulfilled in my life. And
Right.
we cannot go into all the details here. First Timothy 3,
No.
Titus 1,
Mhm.
and First Timothy 5.
Yeah.
But those chapters, they describe in very simple words
Right.
what it means to be temperate. It's kind of the detail of Ezekiel 44. What
Exactly.
he mentions there in a very simple picture,
Mhm.
then we read it in more detail in those chapters. And that is what
Right.
we should get into because, as you said, our calling is to be kings and priests.
Yes.
And if I cannot manage my own time, how
Right.
can I be a king? I mean, this is not possible, right?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
serve God as a priest today, it
Mhm.
requires us to turn to the Lord and be transformed. So
Yeah.
it's wonderful. The Lord can change us all into his likeness, but
Right.
we need to come to him for these
Exactly.
practical points. Yeah.
Right. Come to him and remain in him, right?
Amen.
That's what it means, right? To remain in the most holy place is to walk by the Spirit. If we walk by the Spirit, when we walk by the Spirit, we live Christ, and then Christ will be able to teach us in all of these details, right? These 2 points between finance and time management, those are very critical for us to be proper, temperate with the humanity of Christ. And we pray that all of us will learn to walk with the Spirit, walk with the Lord in such a way to be trained in this way, right? Because this is what it should be manifested in our lives. Christ manifested in the flesh. That should be our living with Christ. And we thank the Lord for this matter of the priesthood. It's training us in such a way.
Yeah.
And we hope in this coming week you would get into these 2 books, First Timothy and also in Titus, and really pray over it, meditate on these words to have the anointing teach you in such practical matters. And this is how you'll get ready for the Lord's coming. I know we're coming up at the end of the time here. We need to, you got to get to work, and I got to get to sleep, type of thing. But we have to continue to remind one another, right? May we learn to live Christ in such a practical way, to be temperate as priests in the holy priesthood. So with that, I think we need to wrap it up. I know, like you said, there's a lot more to say. We've got a few more episodes to touch on this matter. And so we'll continue on next week. But with that, I think we're going to have to wrap it up here.
Right. The Lord be with our spirit, and let's learn Christ. Yeah. Amen.
Yes. All right.
See you all next week, huh?
See you next week.